Hi there, welcome to this beautiful autumn day. Absolutely gorgeous as I feel the sunshine's warmth coming through the windows. Welcome to new people who have come on board into this team, Elevate Your Wellbeing Contagious Care. It's lovely having you here, and today the session number 14, we're looking at getting rid of stinking thinking. One of my favorite topics. It's following on from what we did last week on developing a positive mindset. And I've had a couple of phone calls with you members who have just been wanting to expand your thinking and go further in this, and that's really encouraging. So I am actually doing the how-tos, how to get rid of what we need to do in order to replace the positive mindset. So hi Lisa, and hey Lisa, listening in from Minamara today. Isn't it gorgeous? So here's a girl from Orange who's back in Minamara today. Lovely to see you, and lovely to see you, Carol. Please give a thumbs up or a love heart if you're here so I know to welcome you. Welcome Margaret, great to have you here. So thumbs up or love hearts just to come on in, and can you please give on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your level of well-being today? And why? Identify why it might be. So it could be a positive, an 8, 9, or 10, and say why. Or if it's a 4, 5, or 6, have the courage to say why too, and identify it, because that's where we get places to raise it, to lift the bar. Hello, David. Welcome today. You're going to be really interested today, David. David's my brother from Nelson Bay area, and we're looking at the actual topic of getting rid of stinking thinking, and I'm going to be addressing what comes from our past, so you'll be able to identify with some of this sibling stuff. So hence why I'm in Minamara. Unsolvable situation back home, a 3. I'm so sorry to hear that, Lisa. Really sorry to hear that, but welcome to Minamara and the beautiful sunshine, and I hope you get some really restorative time while you're here. Thank you for your honesty, dear Lisa. So how can we get rid of our stinking thinking? I can remember back when our children were young, and particularly our girls, they didn't like maths. They were very, I loved primary school maths, but high school was another whole area. I did not like high school maths. And we called it stinking thinking when we were giving them extra tuition on their maths. And we used to rub their heads and to pretend to get their stinking thinking out of their brain and to replace it with some good stuff. Like, I can do this, okay? So it just is a powerful thing when we can replace our stinking thinking, identify the stinking thinking, first of all. Instead of saying, I can't do maths, we could say, it's not my forte, but I'm going to learn some steps to improve it. So how do we go about that with our stinking thinking today? David said a 2 because of the things not going so well for you today. Margaret, an 8.5, thankful for a grateful sleep and a sunny day. I just want to say, for the people who aren't doing so well today, thank you for being on here, because sometimes even that's an effort. So thank you for taking the time and the bravery to actually take that step forward and listen in. And thank you for engaging. You'll notice I've got a giraffe in the background, and that's no mistake. When we get rid of stinking thinking, in order to get rid of it, we need to stand tall like a giraffe, I believe. That's a way I've found, just developing that posture to say something different to our brain. And you'll notice, well, you can't read it, but you'll notice the love heart on my giraffe, and it says, she who is brave is free. So let's look at that today. I want you to engage here in the comments section. I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want you to just type in who you think this person is that I'm talking about. So she could have had the attitude, I'm fearful of failing. I'm in a rotten, lousy space right now. But she turned the rotten, lousy space into every failure can be a step forward. This person, prior to publishing the first entry in a book series, this person was a single mum on welfare and almost suicidal. Who is she? Can any of you identify who she is? Lisa's saying, yes, I'm right. I'm on the right track. Have just finished telling my 11-year-old to stand tall. I love it, Lisa. Hey, be that giraffe. They can visualize that. So who do you think I'm talking about? During this time when she was really struggling, this lady, she started writing a book in the cafe. Yes, Lisa, J.K. Rowling, you got it. You got it, girl. You're on the ball. So she wrote Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone while thinking about taking her own life. Can you imagine that? She got to writing just in a cafe when she was dealing with an ex-husband, really challenging, horrible situation, and being a single mum. Hi, Alita. Welcome to you. So she turned her stinking thinking of, I've stuffed up, I'm in a horrible situation, I feel so depressed, I'm thinking about suicide, into, yes, I'm feeling like a failure, but every failure can be a step forward. And if it wasn't for her moving ahead and starting to write in that cafe, we wouldn't have had the Harry Potter series. Another situation of stinking thinking could be this. And this applies to me with backtracking with my first job when I first got out of uni. The stinking thinking could have been because I didn't get the job that I applied for that I really would have just loved. Okay. And my stinking thinking could have been, I'm not good enough. They didn't choose me because I'm just hopeless. I'm worthless. I'm useless. I'm not good enough. Do you know, when I applied for this job, it was with Sydney City Mission, it's now called Mission Australia, and it was for teaching personal development. It was teaching personal development to young unemployed people. And I wasn't the best person for the job. I wasn't the right person, obviously, because I wasn't chosen. But the manager remembered me from the interviews, and 10 days later gave me a call and said, look, I really want to keep hold of you before you get another job. There's a job coming up. It's in this area of remedial teaching. So I'd done my teacher training and my psychology. And this remedial, I wasn't looking to do remedial teaching. That wasn't my goal. But you know what? I took that job and it led to the very goal that I had wanted to arrive in my first part of my career, which was teaching personal development. And it led to that just 2 years down the track. And so to change what could have been negative, stinking thinking, I'm not good enough, they didn't choose me. It was, every delay is a blessing. Every delay can be a blessing. So I want you to think about how sometimes when you don't get what you really desire and it seems like a really good trajectory for you to go on, sometimes the delay is important. I needed to learn other things first. And so that was what was really important. And that led to the beginning of my career later in what I love doing. So hi, Carol, and hi, Jeremy. Please give a thumbs up when you come on. That's an important thing with Facebook, I've learned, a thumbs up or a love heart. So please just put that in. And on a scale of 0 to 10, what is your well-being level today and why? So another scenario I want to give you, the last one. It could be this: I'm never going to get out of this depression. Stinking thinking. The words never and always are always a bad slippery slope spiral to go down, okay? Because there's going to be times when you're not that way, even though you feel like it always is right now. So I'm never going to get out of this depression. It could be changed into every breakdown can be a breakthrough, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you a story just really briefly of Mel Robbins. Some of you will have heard of her. She was unemployed. She was unemployed for a long period of time, at her wit's end, so depressed that she couldn't even get out of bed. Through her breakdown, she found a breakthrough, and now she is a famous woman, and I'm going to be giving you her groundbreaking strategy this Thursday in just 2 days at 11 o'clock. We're going to be looking at the habits of how we do a direct 180-degree change immediately in order to get more habits on our trajectory to be transforming our life right now, okay? So I'll share with you all of that on Thursday, but she's a person who was in a very bad place of breakdown, but she changed it into a breakthrough. Hi, Jeremy. You're saying you're a 7 because the kids are back at school. Woohoo! You can focus on what you're meant to be doing now, Jeremy. Well done. I'm really happy for you. So how can we change our stinking thinking? We can identify our passion and work hard at it. The research shows clearly that if you are doing something that you hate, you are wasting your energy and your time on so much, and that has a ripple effect on everyone. And it does lead towards feeling depressed because you're living every day doing what you hate. So finding your passion, identifying it, and then working hard at it to develop it by creating a positive mindset around that very thing that you do love to be doing. I love to enable people to grow, and I've found ways of doing that that actually develops my growth and others around me. And if it wasn't for me having to step out of my comfort zone, it's not all an easy path, just finding your passion. It was a very difficult step up for me to be doing these video sessions. And I know I shared with you online quite a few sessions back how I just found it so hard to press that button, and that's why I was coming in late, because it was so scary to do. I had to step up in that. So it's hard work, and it's getting out of our comfort zone, finding that place of uncomfortableness for a while to get to the place that we want to be in. So that's the first thing, number one, identifying your passion, working hard at it, getting out of your comfort zone to get to the point where you want to be. The second one is choosing your internal dialogue. That's particularly what we're looking at today. Getting rid of our stinking thinking and changing it into a growth mindset of how we can change our language. And the third one is never letting our external circumstances infiltrate into your internal dialogue. Hi, Rebecca. Please give a love heart or a thumbs up to tell me you're here, and a 1 to 10 scale of your well-being today and why. So the traits of successful people are to wake up and to train early. Now, I'm not great on waking up, but I'll tell you the key that I have found on Thursday that's enabled me to do a real 180-degree turn in enabling that to happen. So mentally and physically getting yourself in peak condition. So that's exploring and identifying your passion, being convicted about it, and being committed to it. You see, a lack of commitment can be almost an insult to those who believe in you. We often want things to be fun, easy, and fast. but we need to be prepared to work hard and show up. And that's about being committed. Many people think it's all just in the hard work that brings success, but I want to ask you a question here. Research has shown that it's only 50% hard work. Put in the comment section right now, I'm going to give my free book to somebody who puts in the comment section that there's a number of right answers. I want you to think about what's in that other 50% of that's not just hard work, that can bring success for you in achieving your goals, okay? This book goes out to you, Elevate Your Wellbeing, of which I've co-authored, if you get some right answers here. So just pop in the comments section anything. What do you think the other 50% is made up of? It's a few things. First person to get the answer gets a copy of my book. So we all have a gap between where we are and where we want to be. Do you want to change the wiring of your brain that brings the best habits in you? Most of us have that deep desire for growth and for being the best we can be, and that's why you're here right now. You're using COVID-19 to actually be a growth point for you, a learning point. Many people I've worked with have told me that their greatest feeling of victory was conquering their fears and self-doubts and achieving that positive mindset, conquering their self-doubts. So it's interesting, where have you had a failed belief that you have had to rewire or change or transform, and then seen the benefits of this in your own life? Again, I want you to ask that question and put in the comments section, where have you in the past, I'm going to be sharing you one of mine in a minute, but where have you had a failed belief, a faulty belief that has not worked for you, okay? And you've had to change it or rewire it, transform it, so that then you've seen the benefits of as you've looked back, you've seen the benefits of that in your own life, okay? So I'm going to read the points that people have had so far to ask the question, what is that other 50% besides just hard work that gets you to be that in that success category of achieving your goals and changing your mindset? Jeremy, well done. Persistence with your heart vision. Alita, also well done, being positive and having a positive outlook. And Margaret, in managing stress. So Jeremy, you are the first. This book goes to you. I will be able to pop it round the corner in your letterbox since you're only a few blocks away. Congratulations. Elevate Your Wellbeing. I'll be sharing a bit more about the book in other sessions, and particularly with my chapter on freedom through forgiveness, when we get back to restoring relationships, when we get back to looking at relationships again, as we did in the first 2 weeks of these sessions. But well done, Jeremy. Persistence with your heart vision. Persistence means keeping at it. And how do we keep at it? I'm going to ask you to put in the comments section again to see if you've been listening and taking on board. What do we have to do in order to keep at it? We don't just keep reading. We don't just listen to these podcasts or videos. We actually have to do something else, and it's key. It is vital. And I've said it a number of times, the 3 words over and over again, the same 3 words. In order to be persistent with our heart vision, we need to do something that is key. So put in the comments section what it is before I give you the answer. And it's all to do with persistence, what Jeremy has written. Okay, it's breaking it down into sub-actions, what that persistence is, what it looks like. Okay, so what are our faulty beliefs? We need to identify them, because that's what we need to get rid of in order to get rid of our stinking thinking. One of my wrong beliefs from childhood that was unwittingly put into me because Dad wanted the best for us, and he really invested in giving us the best in so many ways, but he unwittingly, without, he did the best he could he was a beautiful man and gave me so much inspiration to achieve. But in doing that, it was like this performance pressure. It was an unspoken message. It was, you have to achieve. That's what makes you important. Now, he never said that, of course, because he didn't actually really 100% believe that himself. But he unwittingly, through his actions of just celebrating our successes by taking us out to dinner when we achieved. And he only did that because he couldn't afford to take us out to dinner at any other time. It was only on a very few key moments in our life that occurred. Like when I became Dux, I remember he did that, Dux of primary school, or sports captain or prefect. Those things were celebrated by going out to the local steakhouse. And it was interesting that I developed a faulty belief there about you have to achieve. It was an unspoken message, no fault of anyone's, but I received this unspoken, subtle message that said I had to perform, and my significance was wrapped up in that. Now, I want to tell you a beautiful story about how that changed for me very early on and through Dad. And I am so, so grateful for this experience. If you were with me back in 1973, so take yourself back, I was 14. And what happened was the Sydney Opera House had just opened then. Some of you will remember all the excitement about that. It was a lovely time if you were living in Sydney, as I was, for this amazing cultural piece of artwork that opened up. And the scary part for me was, though, I used to play the piano in Eisteddfods and City of Sydney Eisteddfods, and which was fine because it was in this broken down old hall at Central Station. But then when the Opera House opened up, guess where it ended up becoming? Our Eisteddfods were put into the Opera House. So there was little 14-year-old me, as nervous as anything, playing in the Opera House. Plus, it was the first time Dad had ever come to watch me. My mum was doing something else really important. I even remember what it was. And she asked Dad to take me. Now, Dad was a workaholic. And so he took interest in our sports stuff, but not my piano playing. He loved me practicing, and he used to say that, and he used to do his work right near the piano where I was practicing all the time. But it was the first time he had ever come to an Eisteddfod of mine. So I was as nervous as anything. I played off by heart, as you did, to try and get more marks in the Eisteddfod to win. It was like a 10-page piece, Beethoven. And when I got to page 7, I'd done so well. And when I got to page 7, I went totally blank. My brain went dead and I could not remember. So I went back to like page 6, started again, got to that same piece, part of the piece again, and I went totally blank. I tried about 4 or 5 times. There was silent, like you could have heard a pin drop in the blanks where I just went, oh my gosh, in my mental, quietly, what do I do? I was so humiliated. I got down off that stage, went back and sat next to Dad, felt like crying. I had the biggest lump in my throat. I couldn't cry because I just didn't want people to think I was a bad sport. I can remember, like I'm talking about, my gosh, 14, I'm 60 now. I'm talking about 46 years, no, 46 years ago. I'm talking about 46 years ago, and I remember it as if it was this morning. And I just felt humiliated. I said, I need to get out of here. So many other people were playing after me. And I said, can I just get out of here? So after the next person played and finished, we crept out and we walked around the the Botanic Gardens. And I remember Dad saying to me, looking into my eyes and saying, Heather, it's not about how you perform. It's who you are that counts. And those words were gold to me. I needed to hear them, and I needed to hear them from my dad because of what I've just told you. How that wrong message, faulty message, a very wrong belief got into my thinking that I needed to get out of my brain and wire in a different message altogether that said, I am lovable no matter what. I am highly significant no matter what. I am God's beautiful creation. That's what I didn't realize that at the time, but that's what I added on to that message years after. But in that moment in the Botanic Gardens when Dad looked at me and said, it's not about how you perform, it's who you are that counts. That was what I started doing. Ben, my dear son-in-law, has just come on. Ben, it's lovely to have you here. And Lisa Ann, thank you. It is a beautiful story. And my dad passed away 14 years ago now, but I feel like his presence is still in my heart constantly because of the beautiful messages he has given me over time. And, you know, it's those life-changing messages that came into my heart at the age of 14. But you know what? As you've said, Margaret, put it into action. Alita, keep on trying. I have had to work at that constantly because in those early days, it was that unwitting message that mistakenly got in there. And so I've had to change the neuropathways, myelinate a different pathway of I am loved and appreciated and accepted just for who I am. I'm God's beautiful daughter. Inside, it's what counts. And so how do we get rid of that faulty belief from childhood? You might want to ask, what faulty beliefs do you have from childhood that you need to discard? Write down at the end of this session, if not now, or even in the comments section, because that encourages others to support you in this wonderful team of Elevate Your Wellbeing, this wonderful group that we've got here. What faulty belief do you have back from childhood days that you need to discard? I'm going to send another book, Elevate Your Wellbeing, to the person who can write a real, a negative belief that you really want to change. The first person who does that, I'll send another book to you. You just need to give me your address. So choose what faulty belief you want to get rid of, because it no longer serves you. Identify each faulty belief if you have a few. Hi, Sue. It's great to have you here, dear Sue. Identify it, list it down, and work on how you are going to replace it. On Thursday, I'll give you an easy solution, but let me tell you, as many have said, it requires, the phrase I was looking for is practice, 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 and many of you have said it in roundabout ways like persevering and keep trying, but it's practicing getting rid of that by myelinating a new pathway in your brain, which is what I've looked at in the last 2 sessions, how we can train our brain differently. Replace that stinking thinking with the truth about yourself. Ask your dearest friends who know you so well, What is the truth that they see in you about your beautiful qualities? Replace that stinking thinking with the beautiful qualities that your friends or beautiful family members who know you so well have told you if you can't find them yourself. And then I like to focus on a beautiful meditation from Psalm 48:9. It's beautiful wisdom. I meditate on your unfailing love. So this is where King David was actually meditating on God's unfailing love for him, on God's unfailing love for us. So each moment of every day, we can choose to get rid of our stinking thinking and practice the presence of peace, practice the presence of constructive, truthful thinking about yourself. We can practice the presence of peace, or we can go the other way and practice the presence of problems. Our lives are never void of problems, but what do we focus on? Do we focus on peace and gratitude, or problems and if only? You see, it's so easy to focus on what we don't have, to focus on our mistakes, to focus on what isn't going right, or focusing on everything that we have to do and feeling overwhelmed by all the things in our to-do basket on our inbox. The news is really good, pardon me, at highlighting the problems of the world. Media does a fantastic job of telling us all the things we need to change about ourselves, our body image for a start, all sorts of countless other things we get told what we need to change. But if we focus on the good things in our life and feel more hopeful, inspired and uplifted, that requires intentionality. So Lisa, you've said your false belief is, I can't do this anymore. It is just too hard, I imagine you're saying. But I know I can, but the situation that I find myself in is so draining and all-consuming. So I'm going to pick out of that, Lisa, I know I can. That is the constructive mindset to replace your faulty thinking. And if I can just encourage you by encouraging you to look at all the other times in your life, Lisa, where you have actually jumped to that hurdle when you thought you couldn't, where you have actually gone to places you never thought you could get to, when you thought that you couldn't, and to replace it with, I know I can because I have done this January 1982, whenever it was, you did it then. And so add to that pile of beautiful times when you did get out of your comfort zone and remind yourself of that, to focus on the times when you've done it before. Just start simple. Simple is best. What was something good about your day yesterday where you did something that it might have been the smallest thing, like getting out of bed when you didn't feel like you could? What's just one thing you like about yourself amidst all the other struggles you've got? So regardless of where you're at, the good news is you have within you right now the power to change your stinking thinking. Instead of trying to be more disciplined and denying yourself certain things, turn that around and focus on what you really want, not what you don't want, okay? And even more importantly, focus on how you want to be rather than just what you want. So whatever you choose to give attention to will transform your thinking. What are you giving attention to? That is my challenge to you today. What are you giving attention to? Because that, whatever you give attention to, that will change your thinking. One of the best ways to create that success mindset in changing what you want to change is to highlight the feeling of how you want to be in life and keep this fresh in your mind every moment of the day. You see, if you're a leader in any form, whether you're a business owner, a manager, a coach, a counselor, a team leader, a parent, it's even more important as a leader to work on ourselves and our own stuff. And changing our stinking thinking is working on our own stuff. See, every one of us are people of influence. Your family relationships are instruments of influence that not only have great potential to elevate your well-being, but the well-being of those around you. There are countless treasures you can leave as a legacy for your loved ones and your community that has that rippling effect. So people who feel our energy will feel our energy. People will feel our energy if we're not working on ourselves. They'll feel that negative energy, and we feel it ourselves, don't we? In ourselves continuously if we're not actually practicing to do something different. So you don't have to get that right, the practice, you just have to get it started. So how are you going to develop a positive ripple effect that will magnify tremendously when you change your stinking thinking and make it more constructive? Now we go a whole lot deeper into this, a whole lot deeper with so many activities in the Elevate Your Wellbeing workshop that will be happening now in October, 15th of October. It's an abridged version, just one day. I will be doing 2 days of this workshop next year, but the 1 day version, for those of you who can't take 2 days off, it's so much better than what just a half-hour video is. So keep October 15th free if you are wanting to dive deeper into all of this. And go onto my website, heathermcalpineconsulting.com, to be able to just find out more about those workshops. But in between time, work out a way where you can come to a homeostasis feeling of getting that balance into your well-being. And so I'm going to summarize now by looking at life will give us what we settle for in changing our habits. So if we settle for mediocrity, we're going to get mediocrity. But if we just reach for that just a slightly higher bar, raise that standard to actually be in a place where it's time for you to focus on raising that bar just a little, step by step. Or you may alternatively need to just come to acceptance of yourself, and that is reaching a different place in your well-being to accept who you are by loving yourself and accepting yourself, and then just changing little habits one by one. See, the key is it's not enough to intellectually understand something. You only know it when you're doing it. I want to hear a thumbs up or a love heart if that makes sense to you. It's not enough to intellectually know something. You only know it when you actually apply it. To know and not to do it is to actually not know. Does that make sense? Tell me, otherwise I feel like I'm just speaking to the camera. You see, education is futile if it's not applied. Life rewards action. So it is making a daily habit just by practicing it and repeating it. So condition yourself with repeated habits. When you succeed, celebrate it. Have a champagne moment rather than just moving on to the next thing you have to do. No matter how small that celebration is, just celebrate that success rather than focusing on the little failure. How have you grown through COVID-19? Celebrate that tonight. So that's what I'm going to end up with. Actually choosing to celebrate it. Yes, Lisa, you're saying it makes sense. practice what you preach. And you're a teacher, I'm sure you do a lot of growth mindset with your students, and I can just see your enthusiasm as you do that. So Tony Robbins talks about priming, focusing on what you're grateful for, focusing on what you want as outcomes just for your day. Remembering it's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's what winds up in your nervous system. It's what you repeatedly do, the conditioning, the training that we habitually do daily. So I'm going to finish on that. What do you need to do today to get rid of that stinking thinking, shuffle the stuff around in your brain to bring about a different belief that will then change your thought pattern, change your feelings, and then change your habits. So remember, you don't have to get it right, just get it started. Put in the comments section, particularly if you're on the replay, to actually just jot down what the answers to these questions are, because it's going to help the group be inspired by each other, and you can all grow from each other. So until Thursday, be brave, be life-giving, and let your beautiful light shine.